All right, I've started the recording as well then. So let's start. So, yeah, doing good, Caleb. How are you? All right. So today's stream was going to be about an introduction to harmonics. So what I wanted to do here is just go over some basics first. And just explain like how they work and how you can use them in your trades and how to read charts with them. Uh, then uh, then I can go over the market for a bit or give some updates. Okay, so first of all, what I wanted to show is how harmonics work. Essentially, you have all of these harmonics here. Um, there are a lot of them. These are basically all of the ones I use. And what it comes down to is harmonics are essentially extension of fibs. So you use the Fibonacci retracements to measure the move, to measure every side of the harmonic, and then with the correct notations, you get a very easy retracement zone over here at D, where you know the price is likely to reverse. Hey, what's up, Waterman? Okay, so how did it work? Um, as I said, harmonics are essentially extension of fib retracements. So if we would take a fib retracement here, from the bottom of this move to the top, you'll see that our D point in this case aligns with the 886. I'll remove these for a second so you can see it more easily. Our D point here aligns with the 886. This is the first leg of the harmonic, where you would take X to A and measure your D. So X to D will always be this move. You can take this for every side of the move. Harmonics are always M or W shapes. Most are at least. You can take this for every move. And what you'll see if you do that is if you take all of these moves, so let's say you take the X to A, you can see your 886 will align over here. If you take your X to B, you'll have a 786 here along with an 886. And you can do that for every leg. If you do this, what you'll find is that you have this this area here where all of these retracements align in about the same spot. Obviously, they're drawn out like way far to the right here, but these will all align on the same spot. And this spot is what we call the PRZ or the reversal zone. So this is the reversal zone. This is essentially how you play the harmonic. What you wait for is you wait for price legs to form this M shape, to take the correct alignments. The alignments that are, in this case, because this is a bat, that are in this case shown over here. And the moment you reach that D point, you can try and see if it actually retraces. So this is essentially the basics of how they work. Should give an example on how to plot the points for the harmonics on the requested coin. Yeah, sure. Does anyone have a coin suggestion? Otherwise, I'll just do BTC. Sure. Okay, I'll start with a clean chart here, and we'll see. I imagine harmonics work less accurate on airdrop tokens. So the thing that harmonics have is that they do work on airdrop tokens. But what you'll see on airdrop tokens, I can actually just explain it over here, is that they always start like this. Airdrop tokens always start with this curve, right? You can't really plot harmonics in this curve until price starts evening out. So let's go on the lower time frame and go over here. You won't really see any M shapes over on this side until you start actually forming a bottom. So the moment airdrop tokens come into this phase, this is where you can start using them. So let's actually use this part, right? When you start plotting an harmonic, you want to chart it from actually in the same way you would draw fib retracements. So from significant bottoms to significant tops. So for example, for a fib retracement, this would be valid as a retracement. What you want to start looking for is either M or W shapes. So we can kind of see this M here. So we're going to use that, okay? So essentially, oh, by the way, for everyone that wonders how I'm doing this, if you hold control while drawing, you activate the magnet, so you can snap them to the wicks. So if I just quickly draw it like this, we can take the M shape and we can simply take these measurements. So we know the 0.618 can be a measurement. But I'll actually just snap the cheat sheet on here for clarity. Oh. Just do it like this. Okay, so we from the fib retracements, we know that 0.618 is important. In harmonics, we allow for some tolerance. So for most harmonics, we allow for 5% tolerance, so it can be 5% off the exact retracement. And for a guardian, a butterfly, we allow for 3%. So we can simply start taking these measurements. Well, 618 from X to B is correct. This will allow for a guardian. Then the A to C is 9.21. That's slightly off the 886, but we allowed for the guardian. And then the guardian itself would have a 786 X to D. And between a 113 and a 1618 B to D. So what we want to start looking for is a significant reaction to this D point. So if we take this guardian between the 786 on the XD and the 113, 1618 on the BD, we're gonna take that D point and look for an exact reaction to that 786. The X to D is the most important part here. And when we start looking for that, you can see that the 786 was used in this reaction here. And you might wonder, why are you not counting this wick? Since liquidity grabs are obviously are often forced sells, you can choose to put it close to there or put it on candle closes rather than candle wicks. So this area here would be valid in this case. So we take that 786 and we can check the measurements and we can see, well, for Gardley, we have a 0.618 here. We have the 886 on top. The BD is in between the 113 and 1618. And the XCD had a reaction around that 786 area. So in this case, we would consider this a valid harmonic. And this is what you could base a play off. The point of using it is to identify the next D reaction. Yeah, so how you use this is essentially what harmonics do is they give you this area around the D point where all of these fib retracements stack up. So in this area, a lot of fib retracements from all these price lags will kind of align in the same area here. So we know that that is essentially a fib retracements SR level. So because there are so many fib retracements in the same area, we can treat it as a support resistance level. So what you can see on, for example, EFI as well, the chart I had earlier, is, let's see, if we take this area, if you would put all of these on the same height, you have this massive area of essentially all of these fibs stacked on top of each other. Where if price comes to this area and it reacts, it will likely reverse it because it can't, it won't be able to go through. And likewise, if it does go through and it doesn't react, you can possibly see a reaction on the bottom of this area and treat it the same way as a support resistance level and treat it as a downward signal. So what the point of harmonics is essentially to identify an extra support resistance level outside of normal candle bodies. And yeah, well, what Matt says is right. The harmonic isn't completed until the D is validated, which was the next part I wanted to show off. Is you need to see a reaction at D here. If I go to the injective chart, this is a very good example. We can take this bat, and I actually, wait, let me just take the exact bat and put it up here for the people who don't know the ratios. So we can take this bat, and we can see that it essentially just blasted through it. The important part here is that you need to validate the support resistance the moment you place it. So we can see price coming to this D point, and since these are 4-hour candles, you can see the price is moving quite extreme. With extreme price moves like this, you would always want to wait a bit before taking a play based on the harmonic until the D point is actually validated. So the initial reaction here is kind of good. We retraced a small bit, but as you can see, we immediately went up after and just blasted through it. So what you need to do in this case is see if price kind of starts consolidating like this inside of the D zone. And if that happens, that's the moment when you can take like an actual a position based upon it. So this will provide additional confluence to the zone, which is usually a support resistance zone. Yeah, so what you'll find is that harmonics do often align with support resistance zones, but they don't necessarily have to do that. So if I would go back to the oh wait, it's still an A shot. If I would go look at the older harmonics here, for example, as you can see, this blue one over here, it does align with a previous support resistance zone. As if we look, what's it called? As you can see, I marked it here in the gray as a gray area. It does align with the support area, but it doesn't always have to be like that. Because, for example, this red one in the middle kind of kind of reacted before the actual resistance zone, because this area would be a range high, right? So it reacted before that. So even though they do often align with support resistance zones, they don't necessarily have to be on there. So as a last part, I wanted to show why harmonics are so useful to use in these kind of markets. Because harmonics actually, they naturally have M shapes, right? So at best part, you'll most often find the harmonics in range-bound markets, as you can see a lot of M and W shapes in these. So you can see a kind of W shape here. You can see a bigger W shape like this, or an M shape here. This is why harmonics are very useful in actually range-bound markets, because you will very often find price structure like that, where if you go back a bit and you would look like this, you would look at this part of the price action, you can't really find an M shape here or a W shape. So it's very, very hard to find them in like up-only markets. But if price is ranging like this, they are very useful. So for example, in this big range we had, you could take the top of the range here, all the way at the bottom, and simply follow the price trend until you find the Fib retracements that kind of line up. Okay, please send us the picture you showed first with the different types of harmonics. Yeah, I'll send it in chat after. So let me pull it up again. Yep. So in this case, how you would actually start drawing these is you would take these alignments and essentially look at your important points first. So I go on a higher time frame chart. So as we did before, let's take the first high. We have a range high here, and what we essentially want to start looking for is the first significant bottom, a bottom that our price reacted to for sure, and a bottom that doesn't have any lower points after it before we get a significant top. So this would essentially always be your significant bottom, or at least the first one I would look at. And we can just follow price like this, just keep the magnet attached to it until we see a number that aligns with one of our B points. So the numbers we're looking for are either a 0.382, a 0.5, a 0.618, or a 0.786. You can also bounce it off of a 0.886, but that's a rather extreme harmonic, and we can already see that it's not active yet. So I'll just start following the lines. The 0.382 will always be the first one you find. But as you can see on this one, we do have the 0.382 here, but price still goes up after it. So that makes it so that we can't use this point. Because if you have it like this, this would not be a point you're allowed to take a Fib retracement from. So it's not a point we're allowed to put our B point either. And that goes for every point. So take the top, the bottom. And our next point would be the 0.5, which aligns with, let's go with the bad. The bad is the only harmonic that strictly aligns with an exact 0.5. So if you see an X to B that's relatively close to 0.5, you will almost always have a bad. Well, now that we have our B point, we can look for our next point. We can look for C, and the C point will have to be on the next low in this case, because we're drawing a W shape. It has to be on the next low. And since there is only one point after that, we know it has to be on here. So we just take a look at the numbers. It's 0.595, and we go to the bad. Well, that is between the 0.382 and the 0.886. And specifically in this case as well is that the perfect bad actually has a 0.618 as AC. So that's an extra confluence for this being a valid point. So now that we have 4 of our points placed, we can use the bad schematic to take a look at where our D point needs to be. So we know for the bad, it has to be a 0.886. So we can take it up to the 0.886 in advance, even if price hasn't aligned there yet. And we can draw a D point here. So now even if we wouldn't have been able to see this, we know that this 0.886 is going to be a very likely area of reversal. Because as I showcased before in the EFI chart, we now have a ton of fib levels that align on exactly this point. Yeah, exactly. We got a type 2 error as well. So what you would be able to do, and we actually did this as well because I shared the short like start of the month, is you know in advance that you can take this 8x6 and you can prepare for a short. You don't have to take it because if there's extreme price action, you don't know if it's going to react yet. But we can mark the zone and mark it as a potential reversal. So we know we can either short here, we can either take profits here, or we can take a hedge for our longs because we're coming off of a lower point. So we can use this zone as a confluence to do all of those things and to protect ourselves from a potential down move. So in this case, I shared a short at this point. I put a stop loss right above the X point, which is a possible technical stop loss. The other one would be a bit higher, slightly at the 113. In this case, I chose for just taking the X or a bit above it, because I was hedging my longs from lower. So took this short, hit target, and took profit. And then let's see, we took it, hit target, and we went back to this area. And we simply tapped the same zone again. Well, the harmonic, if this happens, if you make a play, it reacts and it comes back. This exact zone is still valid. Because the fib retracements would still all line up in the exact same area, right? So this would still be your confluence zone or your PRZ. So when price comes back like this, you can simply take it again. That's one of the nice parts about harmonics is if you know a harmonic is reactive, if you know price reacts to that zone and it comes back there, you can simply take the same play again. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter that you're late. I'll upload the recording later. So that's essentially what you would have been able to do on BTC here. I specifically chose not to take it this time because we closed above like a diagonal support as well. But this was one of the reasons why I took extra profits on the STX. All right. Does anyone have any questions? When you draw like this, you use the XABCD tool or the cipher. Okay, so for essentially all of these harmonics that are listed here and a few others, I use the XABCD tool for all of them, except for the cipher. So, yeah, there are two ways of doing that. You either use the XABCD tool for all of Carney's harmonics, and then the cipher tool for, well, the cipher. Or you can take the cipher tool and use it for the extension ones. So for example, this shark here, where you can see the top will be a 103 between 1618, or X to D will be an 886 to 113. You can use the cipher for those as well. I personally use the XABCD for everything. For everything except for the cipher. Any different meaning to the bet than... no, they're just names. I don't know how Carney came up with them. But they're essentially just ways to name them. So the name itself doesn't actually matter, it's just a way to categorize them. They work on all assets. Yes, they do. So They work on all assets. They work on like forex. They work on stocks, etc. They're actually most of the development for them was done on the stock market. They work on like gold, silver, etc. What time frame do these work on? So they work on essentially every time frame. But as with any other style of TA, you need to keep in mind that the lower you go in time frame, the less reliable they are. So with harmonics, as with most trading styles, what's the best thing to do is to start on a high time frame, draw your important levels, draw your reactionary areas, or in harmonics case, draw the PRZs, and draw the important fib levels, and then zoom in. So if you want to trade on a higher time frame, for example, let's actually take this take BTC here, right? We have this 886 here. I'll actually mark it as an 886. That 886. And then we can simply zoom in. So we can go on an hourly chart, for example. And we can take this area as a way to draw lower time frame harmonics. So let's say we take this area, for example. We can let's see. We can use this lower time frame area to draw one as well. So I don't know if the ratio is beside me, but it should be a crab. Because of the 0.618 and the 1.618, and you can get that as an extra confluence in the same area, or as a way to find that entry model, for example. And you can essentially just do that with every M and W shape you have in this area. So like other styles of TA, you can use these smaller time frame harmonics to find a more precise entry for bigger time frame plays. So, for example, if you wanted to take this short, you have this short here, but you don't like that the stop loss is like all the way up here. What you can try to do is find areas in here around that bad 886 to find a better entry. So you can try and take these W shapes and see, well, do they align? Well, this doesn't align with anything, so you would simply go to the next. It's not align either. And you can try to take shorts based on this. So here you would have a good example of a nearly valid harmonic. It would be valid if you take it on the candle body. This would potentially be a good short. So you can take this as a scalp. You would take profit at your fib retracement. So in the case of a take profit, you would take this at the 0.236. You would use this as an area to take profit, to move your stops to entry, and then if the play goes on, great. You now have a really good entry for a bigger short. If the play doesn't go out and hit your entry again, well, you can simply wait for either a new harmonic to form, or you can wait for a bigger time frame play and take that one instead, like the big bat we drew earlier. Check this out on Wolf. Right, let me see. Let's see. That is a really huge arc, actually. With really good alignments as well. Those are almost perfect alignments. That's crazy. Yeah, so this is a really good example that Weatherman gave. If you would look at a clean chart like this, because I've never looked at a chart in my life, right? If you would look at a chart like this, how you would start charting harmonics is you would simply look for M shapes, right? So you would have an M shape like this. You would have an M shape like this. You could probably find some more. Like you can probably find something like this. So what Weatherman had is, I think it was this one, right? Oh, it was the cipher. Yeah, so how you would go through this, and I'll grab the cheat sheet to show it. Let's use this one. How you would go like this is you would start drawing the M shapes. You will know in advance that it's going to be an extension, so you can use the cipher tool. And you would simply look for alignment. So if you put your X at the bottom, your A at the first top, you'll see that the B point will immediately be a 0.382. So you can use this level. So that's how we almost always instantly know it's a shark, because you know it's going to be an extension. You know your C point is going to have to be higher, and your B point is a 0.382. So we can simply place the C at the highest point here and the D at the next low. And this will align perfectly with a shark. So that's how you would know that this would be an area of reversal. Now you identified the shark, then what's next? Okay, so what I would usually do with sharks like this is before price comes to this area, you have several areas where it can you have like kind of this box where the shark would be valid. So in this case, I would take the A to C, since you can see the A to C is on this side, it's not valid, so that's going to be our that's going to be a restricting point. So I'm going to take that up to the 1.618, and I would mark this area as the 1618, and then I would go down a bit and mark that as the 113. Now, this is going into the negative prices, so we know that's not going to happen. So we can simply move this up a bit and look for a reaction. So we saw this initial reaction. We saw it react to the zone and actually pop out of it. So now we can play this shark. And how you would play this shark is you can either take position like this, spot or left, or however you trade. How I would play it is I would take a fib pool from the highest point to the lowest point. So in this case, from the C to the D. And I would take this as my initial TPs. I would look at these levels and see if there are actually like support resistance zones, like high amounts of volume, like order blocks, anything like that. And I would place my TPs in those areas. So in this case, 0.236 would be right at this support level. But we also have this zone before that. So in this case, I would likely take profit a bit before that. So either somewhere here or somewhere here on the wicks. The same way you would with any other play. If you would take a spot buy here, you would likely take TPs like along the wicks, right? And then a special thing for the shark, because you would essentially take this play, right? You would wait for an initial reaction and put your stop loss like that. This would essentially be your play, and you would take TPs among these fib levels. And what I wanted to get to is a special thing for the shark is with every shark you have the like a bit of an abnormal harmonic, which is a 5L, which is a lot harder to find if you're not practicing it, so it's not really needed. But it's very important with the shark to always TP the 0.5. Because every shark will transform into a 5L, and 5Os are valid reversal opportunities, so this would be a valid play based on that. So this place specifically, and with every shark, I would heavily TP this 0.5. This 50% of the range would essentially be like, this is a very likely reversal point. So what you could see happen with something like this is it reacts to the PRZ here. Let me use this. You would kind of go up to the 0.5 here, and you could come back to entry, which is what we talked about earlier with the bet on BTC, which would be your type 2. And for a type 2, you could try and test the zone again. You would either go up higher and test the rest of the TPs, or go lower again, and you'll see what happens. So that's how I would play it. I would buy here. I would take TPs on the fibs. I would heavily TP the 50% or the 0.5, and potentially look for a short on the 5L. 5L lines perfectly with the FEG. Yeah, what you'll find if you trade a lot of harmonics is that harmonics often align with other confluences. And I'm sure other trading styles have that as well, but I don't trade those as often. So if you would take this FEG, for example, well, this 50% level is exactly in the FEG, right? And if you would take, is it a monthly breaker? No. If you would take this, for example, you can take this as well for an ICT setup. So you can see that these do align with other confluences as well, which also kind of aligns with what I said at the start about support resistance levels. They do often align with support resistance levels, although they don't have to. For butterfly, what are your target TP level? Yeah, so for the butterfly, it would essentially be the same. I forgot. I took a play off for butterfly earlier. I don't remember actually. But for a butterfly, it would be the same. So I would simply take the highest point of the harmonic. So wait, let's just let's take a butterfly. So if you would have a butterfly here, let's say something like this, you would take it the exact same way. You would put your fib retracement, place it at the highest point, which would be your A point in this case, put it at the D point, and you have some easy TPs over here at the fib levels. And you don't have to do this, right? If there's like a lot of volume here before it, or like somewhere in the middle where you know, like, okay, well, if it hits this level, like there's several order blocks, it's like the range POC, whatever. You can take TP before that. That really doesn't matter. These fib levels just give you an estimate of where you can take profits. What's a type 2 chain reaction? So a type 2 is something we saw on BTC here. Where you complete this M shape, you touch your you touch your entry level, you hit TP1, which depending on how you play it would either be this 236 or this 3A2. And after you hit that, you come back to entry over here. So when you come back to entry, that's what you call a type 2 or type 2 reaction, which essentially signals, okay, well, the harmonic worked the first time, we hit TP, we came back to entry, we can just play it again. Which is in, wait, let me actually, realign these. Actually, I'll just align these on here. I'll just align them on here to show an example of this. So what you can see, if you have a valid harmonic like this, is that because all of these fib levels align on the same area, because we can view this like a support resistance zone, we can play the initial play like this. So if this would come down here and the reaction is good, we can take this initial play. We would set our TPs at something like this. We can take this initial play. We can see how far it goes. And if it simply comes back to this exact same level, so this would be your PRZ or your support level, you can try to play it again. Because, well, it's still a support level, right? The same way you would play traditional SR levels, or the same way you would play a range, for example. You can simply take the same play again and take it up to TP2. And that's how you would play a type 2 reaction. Alright, does anyone have any questions? Yeah, no problem. It's nice to give the class like this. Okay, so do you have any coins you want me to look at? Because we finished like what is it, for like 40 minutes or something, so got some time for it. Cake? Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's see. Ton, yeah, I can look at Ton after this. Ton actually had a pretty clear defined range. Okay. So wait, this is actually the old chart. Okay, so immediately what we can see if we kind of zoom out here is you would have this M shape at the start. Let's see if it's valid. Okay, so what I can already tell is because this X to B is a 786, we would need to have a butterfly, which would end somewhere in the -11 region. So we know that's not valid. So we're gonna have to kind of zoom in and take the other M shapes. Chart's ugly. So we can look for the other M shapes. We would have one right here. So we would have a 618 to the 886. These are both valid. So this would be a deep Gardy, which is essentially a Gardy but with an 886 bottom. Let's see if we can actually make a proper Gardy out of it if we take it from a bit lower. No, okay, we could kind of count this as a pad, but this is not like a proper bottom. So whatever I do when I see things like this, because this is not like an actual full bottom, right? So you would not pull your thread from this level. Is if I think it's still valid, I would mark it. I would simply mark it as an NSL bad, which stands for non-street legal. It's just something I do. You don't have to do that. So we would have a deep Gardy here. We would have an NSL bad here. And then we can start zooming in a bit. You can see some W shapes already. Oh. Yeah, so this will be 618. So that would have to align with either the 786, 886, or a 0.618, and it doesn't really align with either of them, right? So what I usually do in that case is I just kind of try to pull it to the 886 level. So that would be here in this case, and see if we got a reaction on it. So we saw an initial reaction here. So I can say I will take this as a valid harmonic because it saw a valid reaction and it hasn't passed the X point yet. So that was a nice region for a short. And the reason I mark these is because if you take these levels, you can see that this area, which would be the PRZ, is actually still used as a support level in the future, even though this would be confluence for a short instead. So you can see it was resistance here, it was support here, which is also why you will often see new support resistance levels form on harmonic levels. Okay, so let's see if we have something forming here. It would kind of align with a 382. Which would mean this either has to be on an 886 for a bat, or on a 113 for an alt bat. So essentially, off of that 382 and the pallet top side, so that was almost perfect 886. You could essentially take a long at the 886. Especially because this is like an area with decent volume, right? Like we had this range over here at the same area. So after the reaction, you would have been able to take a long here. But since it could be an alt bat as well in this case, you would likely, if you would play it off the harmonic alone, you would likely put a DCA here and play with a bit of a wider stop. So you could take this as a swing, essentially, or you could wait for a proper reaction. And if you validate it, you would be able to move your stop kind of up a bit and simply play the bats rather than wait for an alt bat to form. So off of this start, off of this M shape, you would be able to play either of these. And then of the reaction we got here, these would be the TPs. So the TP1 would have hit already. Like this. TP1 would have hit, and these would be the other TPs. So on all of these levels, you can take some profit. On this case specifically, I would probably not take like the what's it called? No, I would actually take all of them because the 0.5 aligns with this area as well for volume, and the 0.382 aligns with this area on the left as well. So you would probably have a breaker, which you would like it to be. So that's what I would look for on cake. And there's probably a lot more, which is a thing I like about harmonics. But it takes some time to chart everything out. Like if you would go to my total chart, for example, because I charted it out again this morning, you can find a lot of them, like a lot. So just because I only mark out one harmonic on the chart doesn't mean there isn't any more. Let's see. Yeah, so this is it for cake. Which is a bit of a lower time frame play. So you have to confirm your that it reacts before you take it, but this will be the play. Let's see, Tom. Okay, so Ton already, if it would zoom out, Ton doesn't have anything on the left here. Like if it would go to a weekly, for example. So in this case, I'm just gonna ignore the weekly time frame because there's no use. Like I can't draw anything off of this. This is maybe like an 886-ish. But that would put you over here at max. So with charts like these, you can kind of ignore the start from an harmonic perspective and either use it for trend-based fibs or for fib extensions. So I would just kind of take this range. And I already had it charted out. We had a nice bat here. So make it red for clarity. We had a nice bat here, and I was looking for potentially forming a C point here for a long down below, or for a type 2 here. As you can see, you just draw it like this. This is a good example of why you need to be like where you can't instantly take every long or short at an harmonic point. Is if price action is very extreme like this, you need to be careful. Like if you're going up parabolic, the SR level probably won't hold, or you will at least wick above it. So what you would look for in that case is you can draw your short. You can take it with a soft stop if you want to. What I personally wait for is for things like these to deviate above. They go on a lower time frame and potentially take a short on like a reclaim and retest. So we would zoom in a bit. We can take this exact same area that we bounced off the first time. You can see it wicked above. It went down, went back up, and then rejected again. And this probably has some bear dips as well. Yeah. So we had some bear dips as well because there's a lower high on the RSI and a higher high on price action. So you could possibly look for a short here instead. And what do we have now for Ton? Well, let's see. I just remove these. Okay, so use Cypher for this because of the extension. We would get a 112, which technically it would be valid for a shark, but I personally don't like it, this 0.5. I personally only take place on harmonics if the XP is completely within tolerance, right? So I take the XP for a shark that would be a 0.382 or a 0.618. Some people take it as an area between those two. I personally take it as it has to be a 0.382 or it has to be a 0.618. So I would not base a play off of this alone. You would, however, have a Valak shark around this area again. I doubt that we'll get it, but you would be able to get a nice long here. And again, this top is pretty wide, so you would essentially just look for a reaction at first, which would allow a bit more of a tight stop instead, or for a spot position. And then we would probably have something up here as well. Yeah, so you would have a bet here as well. So we essentially bounce off the of the 0.5 here. We had another C point, this is valid for a bet, and then we can look for the 886 here to potentially bounce off of a bet. So you would be able to take like a scalp here if the reaction is good. But in cases like these, you need to be careful. And zoom out a bit because we are at range highs. So you would be able to take a scalp here if you really want to. But since you are at range highs, essentially, or like slightly above range mid, it is pretty risky to take this, and you can't take it as an entry for a swing. So this something like this would be takeable if the reaction is really good and if you're planning to make it a quick play. I'll do Jib first, and then Ina as the last one, okay? Okay, so for Jupe, we can already see the, what's it called? We can see an M shape over here. That's not it. That isn't anything. There's kind of an M shape over here as well. I think I just found a confluence that resonates with me. Thank you for that. Oh, really glad to hear that. That's really nice to read. I'm glad you found something. Okay, so so this is a tough one because this doesn't really align with anything here, so I would go on a lower time frame. There's probably something here because it does look like there's a lot of M shapes in here. But I'll just take it as a fib for now, since that will take quite a bit of time to figure out. So it looks like we have another chip over here that's actually really nice, 0.5. Yeah, so we would have another bad shape over here. And something that you've probably noticed by now is that there's going to be periods where you keep finding bats. There's going to be periods where you keep finding sharks. There's going to be periods where you keep finding godlies. Because the market, especially alts, kind of move in the same way, you will see a lot of the same harmonics at the same time. So for example, on fail here, this bat we have here, this bat is visible on like every altcoin. Like so many alts made this exact same bat. And you're gonna notice that there's gonna be periods where you're gonna see one harmonic the entire time, and then after that you're never gonna see it again for like a full year or something on a higher time frame. Yeah, so this here, if you react in this area, especially since this is like a 12-hour engulfing candle as well, so you can kind of take this as a confluence alongside. So bats have like a 5% tolerance, so I'm gonna move this up a bit to like the 0.846 because that's about high as it can go. And then let's see the 0.26, so that's basically just 5% up and 5% down. Bat min. Figures like that. Max. And you would be able to take this as your PRZ, which perfectly aligns with that with the 12-hour engulfing candle we have over here. So if you see a reaction here, you can probably take a good long. So your technical stop loss would be either over here or like at the 113 somewhere over here. So I would personally put it somewhere over here. With pip retracements, and I can't draw these exactly because I would put them on the lowest point the moment we start forming a bottom. But this would be an estimate of the TPs. So I would take something like this probably. And it could even be more here. Snap it to the candle body, that would be 786, yeah. Yeah, so you would have a butterfly in the same area. Yeah, so this would be a good point for a reaction. I would consider taking this if like I'll probably set alerts for something like this later, and then if the alerts go off, I'll just go back to the chart and you can see, well, if the reaction is good, I can potentially take it, because this does look like it's an area around range lows, right? There's probably some good volume here as well, and you now have this PRZ over here, which perfectly aligns. So this is a good play, probably. That's the thing, I don't usually set limits for plays like these, because if price action is really extreme, I don't want to take it. So I personally always set alerts for this. And I come back to it later once it goes off. So I just saved that in this list. Okay, so, and the last one was going to be Ina. Yeah, I'll upload the stream after. I'm recording it as well. Let's see, this is all the chart for Ina. So I remember that there was a shark on here. Because I actually longed the shark in Unity. Is there a slightly older chart? Maxi? No, okay. Okay, let's see. It's not really valid. Can't be there either. I remember there was a shark somewhere, but I can't really find it, so I just look at. We can actually find it probably in chart ideas. Oh, yeah. Okay, so it was from here to here to here. And then for a shark, we would take everything from the 886 to like the 113. We did have a good reaction here and here, so I'm just gonna put it on exactly the 113 over here and take this as here Z. So the shark initially reacted, dropped back down for a deviation. This is probably 1272, yeah. So the drop back down for a nice deviation, went back up. And it seems like it's making another M shape as well. So we can try and see if there's another one here. Let's see. So we would have the 0.5 on this. It's kind of wicked through in the liquidity grab, but we are seeing closes over here. So things like these are hard to play because wicks like these can really mess up an harmonic. But since there are forced cells, you can choose to, I said it at the start of the stream as well, because these are forced cells rather than actual like human behavior, how you would call it. I'm gonna choose to put it on the candle closes, right? And we're seeing a reaction in candle closes over here, the 886. So I would deem this as a valid bet. You would probably put your stop loss like right below here. Or take it a bit lower if you want to play it safe, like play somewhere over here. Put it up, and this goes to one of the things I really like about playing harmonics like these, is you now have a smaller harmonic over here. Oh. You have a smaller harmonic over here, and a bigger one that's still active as well. So what you can do in this case is you would take the TPs from this entire range and use these as your TPs instead, so you can extend the play up. And this is, I've gone over this a few times on my channel. This is one of the reasons why I take a lot of TPs and just don't take as many. So I would take like 10% off of every TP and then manually TP on bad price action. Is because this way you can take the fibs you like and put TPs there. So in the current market state, since it's not really stable, I would take a first TP here. And simply put my stop loss and entry. It's a bit likely to hit, but in the current market state, especially right now, by the way, like since this weekend after such a big drop, I'm simply not taking any plays because it's just not worth it. Like it's better to either organize things or study something or whatever. But in a general market environment, I would probably take the P a bit earlier, so on the 236, and put stop loss at entry, and then look further up. So I could possibly take it P here, here. Would always take the 618 as a 2P. And just look up. And this is one of the reasons why I don't take as much per 2P. So I can take like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2Ps and only be 60% out. And then I can use the rest of the 2Ps. It's like 7. And I can simply use these as the other two P's. And it would give you a pretty big area for RR. And you can simply take profits on the way up. You don't have to take all of them, right? But these give you an idea of where you want to take profits here. So this is what I would look for on Eno. Something like this. Yeah, it's good to take TP a bit earlier. You have a lot of volume in this area. Can you check the dog rune coin? No, that's new. It was airdrop too. I think the dog coin is like completely unchartable. Is this one, right? Yeah, it's like... So it came out over here, right? There might be a W shape somewhere over here. So it's like a 382 and a 113. So I can draw like a W shape over here. But it's so new that at the start, this like kind of just disrespects everything. At the start, this is really hard to chart. So what you can try and do is either take like a trend-based fib extension like this. And you can get your reactionary areas. So you can see that the 786 formed support over in this area. Took it on the 886 as well there. So if you draw back, you can probably take this as support area again and take this area as support again. Otherwise, I would look for a smaller time frame. It's gonna discount this wick because this looks like either a listing glitch or whatever it is. Doesn't look like actual price action. So you could look for something like this on the shark actually, and just take this 886. So you just take this 886 and this demand zone as an area of entry. Something like this if you want to get into it. Probably aligns with a fib like this as well. Yeah, your golden pocket is right above it, so you might get front ran. So you can take it like this on the demand zone, or if you really want to get in and you're afraid it's gonna front run you, you can kind of take it like this and take it with a wider stop and a DCA instead. And you would just take a DCA up here. So I would look for... I'm not looking to get into this coin, but if you would, I would probably do it around this area. And anything before that is possible as well, but it's like you're in such an overextended state that it's really hard. Like if I would turn VWAP on, like VWAP's all the way down here in the quarterly. So it's like in such an overextended state, this should align with the PRZ the moment we enter it. But I wouldn't enter it anyway. And something to keep in mind, as I said earlier, is if you take a play off of a shard like this, you're gonna have to deal with a 5-0. So at this 0.5 extension, if you take this play, you wouldn't need to take it to PA because this would be your 5-0, and 5-0s are possible reversal points. So a short like this would be possible as well if you see a bad reaction to this to the 5-0 PRZ and to this SR level. So you should heavily TP this 0.5. Yeah, no problem, mate. All right. And that's gonna be the end of the stream for me. Do you guys have any questions before I wrap it up? Yeah, I'm glad you learned something, Lucifer. That's really nice to hear. Yeah, thanks, Solomon. That's nice to hear. Glad you enjoyed it. Alright, I'll stop the recording here.